I'm doing the filming.
I don't care if you're doing the filming. I've asked you not to film this building.
Yeah, but it was a little building.
I don't care.
It was a little...
Okay, they're on their way to see you now, right?
What about my drone?
I don't care about your drone.
Yeah, but I've come
no permission.
Yeah, but I've come
to film this building.
I've come a long way on my bike.
I don't care.
I go round. I take like videos and drone footage, and I put them on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, but you've had no permission to come onto this site, and you were filming on this site without permission.
No, I only come on the site to knock on the door, but I think you came out, didn't you?
But you've been videoing on this site without permission.
No,
right?
I came through.
I watched you.
No, but I came through.
I watched you.
But there was no barrier down. If there was a barrier down, I wouldn't have come in.
A barrier tells you it's a secure private premises, yeah?
Well, it wasn't. It's not secure.
The video opens with the auditor being accused of filming on private premises. He explains he only stepped onto the site to knock on the door and that the barrier was left up. Under UK trespass rules, someone is only a trespasser if they knowingly enter private property without permission. And trespass is normally a civil matter, not a criminal one, unless there are aggravating factors. Because there were no active security measures stopping access and he only approached to make contact, there's no unlawful act here. Rather than accept that oversight, the site is trying to blame the auditor, even though it was their responsibility to secure the location if access was supposed to be restricted.
I'm not getting into it because the police, they just said they see you through the window and they're coming over to see you.
Yeah, but I'm only doing a little video.
Oh, no interest in me.
What's your name, sorry?
I didn't give my name.
What's your name?
I don't need to give you my name, do I?
Well, at the moment, we've been called. I don't know if you know anything about Concordia, but having had a chat to the manager here, it's quite a secure building, all right?
Yeah.
You're not allowed on there. That's come from him.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's politely asked you to move on and obviously stop recording because of the nature of the supplies and the goods within the site.
When the police arrive, the officer doesn't check whether an offense has actually taken place. Instead, she repeats the worker's demand that the auditor stop recording. That's a failure of policing. The officer is acting like a spokesperson for the business instead of applying the law. Public photography is not a crime, and unless a specific legal restriction applies, a business cannot unilaterally decide what can or can't be recorded from a public place.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what the company is because I got it off the internet.
There we go. So, in this situation, the best thing we can do is just ask you to move on, all right? Not record, obviously, from here. They're asking you not to do it, right? At the moment, he's saying that in the building and the business itself, they do obviously supply quite high secure goods across the world on flights. And at the moment, it's just not appropriate. And obviously, that's where we are with it, okay? Now, in terms of what we're going to do as police, is we're going to do the same. We're just going to ask you to politely move on, just to obviously prevent any breach of the peace, just to move on, go on your push bike and go and film a different place that is going to allow you to do that.
This is unacceptable. The auditor is legally entitled to record from where he stands, with both camera and drone, yet the officer tells him to leave despite no law being broken. This looks like the police taking the business's side rather than protecting public rights. The officer frames the auditor as the problem, as if his mere presence justifies some breach of the peace. Her priority appears to be placating the business, not enforcing the law impartially. She's delivering exactly what they want: removal of someone exercising lawful rights.
Okay, and then it's just going to be end of sport. We will leave you to it. Okay, ultimately what we could potentially be facing is that if you're going to refuse to do that and allow for this business to move on with their day, we could be looking at other things then, couldn't we? Because what's happening here is this company now have had to send out managers and staff to obviously come and deal with yourself, and they're just kindly asking you, can you please stop filming?
Yeah, but I'm doing photography in a public place. I'm allowed.
What they're saying is,
I'm allowed.
You by all means,
I'm allowed.
Go the other side of the road. Obviously.
That's what I said I was going to do. I said I'm going to be over there.
Yeah.
Over there on that footpath.
You've asked to use their toilet. You're not allowed to do that.
No, I'm not going to.
You've asked to go in and have a tour. You're not allowed to do it, okay? There are rules in life that you have to follow.
No,
right?
I said to him,
for you to ask where the toilet is, if I can use the toilet, can I come in and have a tour? It's a no.
The way across the road. There's no legal basis for that demand. Yet she insists, adopting a patronizing tone and saying there are rules in life you have to follow, as if exercising a legal right equals breaking rules. It's clear she's not being impartial. She's pressuring the auditor to leave to make the business feel comfortable, instead of checking whether any law has actually been broken.
All right.
No, I know he said no. That's
we're
no
not
problem.
Get into
I'm not going to. I'm not.
And stuff.
I just asked him. I said, look, any chance I can use your toilet? He said, you must be joking. I said, fine.
Yeah.
I said, as I'm here, you know, would you like me a guided tour? I've got high vis. He said no.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Right.
But I just want to go on a public footpath and do my video and a little bit of drone footage.
He's not going to. He's not going to allow for the drone.
He doesn't own the airspace, officer.
But the problem is that as the manager, he's being quite respectful and polite to you, isn't he? And he's just saying, please sir, can you not do this, all right? Obviously, he knows a lot more than me and you about this company, all right? And he's saying that in the building itself, it's obviously quite a high secure place where they provide goods and materials to put on flights to travel, right?
Next, the officer repeats the worker's claim that the drone will not be allowed to fly. That claim has no legal weight. The worker does not control the airspace. Unless the site is inside legally restricted airspace under Civil Aviation Authority rules, staff cannot stop a drone from flying overhead. The auditor points out the obvious: they don't own the airspace. The officer then repeats that the building is high secure. But if it really were a secure facility, why was the barrier open and why was there no security preventing the auditor from approaching? A genuinely secure site would show clear access limits, visible security, and enforcement of filming rules if those apply. Hey, the facility was open and the only security was calling the police and inventing rules on the spot.
I'm allowed to photograph in a public area.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to photograph.
I'm allowed.
Go over there then.
That's
all right?
what I said I'll do.
Make yourself sparse, obviously take photos and stuff.
Yeah.
But please don't go putting a drone up. We've got our headquarters there. That's our police headquarters. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No.
Right? That's our police headquarters there for Gwent Police.
But I'm not doing Gwent Police.
So,
I'm doing.
But obviously, as you can see, there's only a matter of meters between these buildings. Okay. So Concordia, they're obviously quite a high secure building. We've got our premises there as Gwent Police.
But I'm allowed. I'm allowed to do my drone footage. I'm allowed to do my drone footage.
To justify her position, the officer claims the police headquarters is next to the site and implies that this alone prevents drone flights. That's misleading. Proximity to a police station does not automatically create a no-fly zone. If legal restrictions apply, the officer would cite the law. The fact she is asking rather than enforcing shows she has no real authority to stop the flight. This is police overreach, inventing barriers to discourage lawful behavior. The auditor rightly pushes back, pointing out that it is allowed to fly the drone and that the officer's concerns lack legal backing.
The CAA they have different zones in the UK. They have like red zones and
I'm not
amber
a drone
zones.
officer, but I can certainly check with a drone officer if that's where we're going to get to.
Yeah.
However, I feel that that's a little bit unnecessary for now. All right, and I think that what the best option here is just for you to obviously move on as you've been asked by a couple of people now. All right, just move on, get on with your day. And
this is my day. I'm allowed. I'm not being.
Like I said, just go across the way then, and obviously.
Yeah, I was going to go across
across the way there. There's many other buildings on industrial estates that you can use.
Yeah, and
that you can photograph.
I will do them. But I was here, and what you're telling me is that because he don't like it, I can't film.
It's not a case of him not liking it. He's the manager, isn't he? And what he's saying is that because of the nature of the materials and the goods that are inside of this building.
But it's not unlawful to do photography. It's just a public place.
It's again with that company. The company are asking you not to do it.
The officer then argues the nature of the goods inside makes filming inappropriate. But the auditor isn't inside the building. He's outside in a public space where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. If the contents are truly sensitive, it's the company's duty to secure them, not the public's duty to look away. As the officer struggles to justify this, she stumbles over her words, a sign she's improvising. At this point, it's no longer about law enforcement, but about an officer trying to keep a private business happy by making things up.
Yeah, I'm allowed though.
Let's not be awkward.
No.
Let's not make things difficult because otherwise they're going to end up difficult. Okay?
Why?
But because of obviously the sort of attitude that you're giving.
I'm not. All I'm doing is exercising my rights to film in a public area.
But like I've just said, the company are saying to you, you're not allowed to do it. Please don't do it because our business has things in there that we don't want publicised across the internet and stuff.
The officer's tone slips into what sounds like a warning. Let's not make things difficult, or it'll end up difficult. When the auditor asks why, she says it's because of his attitude. But he has been calm and reasonable, merely defending his legal rights. He hasn't been aggressive, obstructive, or criminal. The only attitude is his refusal to give in to an unlawful demand. Her remark is an attempt to intimidate someone who won't back down from a wrongful push to obey the business.
The thing
Do you
is,
understand what I'm
I
saying?
understand what you're saying, but I'm also exercising my rights, okay, lawful rights, as a citizen in England and Wales. I'm allowed to take photography in a public place unless...
Photography is different to drone though.
No, that's my first point. My second point is I'm allowed to put a drone up over any place unless it's in a flight restriction zone. And I've got a CAA app that tells me I'm allowed. And you're telling me I'm not. Now that's not lawful.
This moment exposes a contrast. The auditor relies on facts and legal sources while the officer repeats baseless claims to deter him. Under UK drone law, pilots may fly in unrestricted airspace if they follow CAA regulations. The CAA app gives real-time airspace data. If it shows the area as unrestricted, then the officer has no legal basis to block a flight. By telling him he cannot fly despite the CAA confirming he can, she is effectively trying to put personal opinion above aviation law.
If you stop me, if you prevent me from doing that...
You're completely confusing what I've said. What I've said to you is that business are asking you not to. All right, they don't want you doing it. So can you not just respect that and be, respectful towards everybody involved here and just please just take your photographs, but they just don't want to drone up, okay?
But I am being respectful. I mean, I'm not getting into an argument or any conflict with you guys, but I am allowed to put a drone up, and you're saying, well, be respectful to them and don't put one up. But I'm allowed, and it's my right. It's my right to put a drone up in a public area.
The officer is no longer pretending to enforce the law. She is policing to avoid upsetting a private party. That approach is dangerous because it implies laws only matter when they don't cause discomfort. An impartial officer would have explained public rights to the business and moved on when no offense was found. Instead, by framing the auditor as the problem for refusing to comply with the business's wishes, she implies the auditor is wrong simply for asserting his rights.
It is. If you tell me... If you tell me if you're going to arrest me if I do it, then what I'll do, I won't do it, but I'll go to my lawyer because I'm allowed and I know my rights, and the rights are that you're allowed. The law says that you're allowed to take photography, including drone footage, in a public place.
Okay, what's your surname, please?
What?
What's your surname, please?
I'm not giving my name.
You're going to refuse to give details now, are you?
Well, unless you threaten me with some sort of arrest.
I'm a police officer, sir. Yeah. I don't threaten anyone.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't threaten. So
you're not going to threaten me with arrest if I don't give you...
Certainly not a threaten.
Okay.
I can use laws and powers, but it's certainly not a threat.
But I've not done nothing wrong.
Ultimately, what happened here is that the police have been called. Right? And I'm now having to deal with you as a person. Therefore, I'm asking for your name and date of birth.
This is an abuse of police powers. There is no general UK law that requires someone to provide their details just because they are being spoken to by an officer. An officer can require a name in limited circumstances, where someone is lawfully detained under suspicion of an offence, Pace 1984, when being issued a fixed penalty, or where they reasonably suspect antisocial behaviour, Section 50 of the Police Reform Act 2002. None of those apply here. The auditor isn't suspected of a crime, isn't being issued a penalty, and isn't acting antisocially. By demanding ID without citing any legal basis, the officer is misleading and using intimidation to try to extract personal information.
Why?
Because you've been involved in a call that I'm actually dealing with.
Yeah, but I don't have to give it. I don't understand why.
So then, if you're not going to give details, then I would strongly advise for you to just move on. Because at the moment, you've got 3 units here that are obviously dealing with you. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, I know,
right?
but
I need to know who you are.
No, I'm a member of the public.
Yes, I appreciate that.
And I'm doing a lawful act. I'm doing photography and droning.
So why are you not, at the moment, you could be missing. You could even be wanted. Right? And ultimately, as a police officer, we have the right to take you to custody to identify who you are if you do refuse to give details.
Suggesting someone may be missing or wanted is not a valid reason on its own to demand ID or to detain them. Police cannot detain someone merely to check their identity unless they have reasonable suspicion of a crime or a legal duty to ask. The officer's threats are a deliberate stretch. If officers could detain anyone on the vague claim they might be wanted, anyone could be held without cause. Her resort to false threats instead of legal references shows she is clutching at straws to force compliance.
You've been involved in a call, all right?
No, but
you've been involved in something that the police have been called for. So as a police officer, I'm requesting your name and your date of birth.
Yeah, but under what section? I don't understand. Under what section are you asking for my name and date of birth? Because I'm legally, and I don't want to go into civil law, into unlawful arrest and unlawful detention here. But if we go down that path, you know, we don't want to. I don't want to go unlawful detention, unlawful arrest, unlawful giving of my details, because that all goes.
It's not an unlawful giving of details by any stretch.
Okay, well, if you felt that I've committed a crime, then you know, or there's a section under PACE,
I just feel,
and I know PACE very, very well.
When the auditor asks for the legal basis, her argument collapses. If a lawful power existed to require ID in this situation, she would have cited the specific law, but she doesn't. Her inability to provide a legal justification exposes misuse of authority and reliance on intimidation rather than policing. This is why it matters to question officers. If the auditor had quietly handed over his details without challenge, the abuse would have gone unchecked. By asking one question, he exposes the false claim and leaves her without a legal footing.
If you want to try and, you know, determine my name and address, I'd like to know.
I think you're just being extremely difficult and challenging, and I'm probably quite awkward at the moment.
I'm not. I'm exercising my rights.
It's just a little bit awkward when a person is obviously not just cooperating, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just trying to do my job.
I know you are, but
and we've been called. Because you're obviously causing some.
I'm not. I was going over there.
But you're not, sir. I found you just here on the pavement, okay?
In a public road.
This episode is a clear attempt to assert control where none is justified. Public spaces are public. Unless someone is obstructing access or causing disorder, there's no lawful reason to tell them to move. The officer treats the auditor's position as suspicious or inappropriate when it's perfectly lawful. The problem here isn't public safety, but an officer trying to push someone away simply because they are unwanted. Police should uphold the law objectively, not enforce a private business's preferences. Her focus on where he stands rather than whether any offense occurred shows how misguided her approach is.
Right, you're up against the barrier.
Well, I'll happily go over there and do my drone.
Go over there then. When you're refusing to give something as simple as a name to a police officer, obviously it comes across as quite awkward, and that's probably my personal opinion of it. Okay, and it's just sometimes it can make it a lot more difficult than it needs to be. In there, they do high security goods, and that's why they're saying as a business, please don't do it. But but as a police officer, obviously you don't want to, go down. We don't want to be causing any further issues for you. Okay, so just please respect what's been said. All right.
Thanks, officer.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
In the end, the auditor does move across the road, not because he was legally obliged to, but because the officer's relentless pressure left him no practical choice. This whole event is a poor display of policing. She misrepresented her authority, falsely claimed the right to demand ID, threatened detention, and never provided legal backing for her actions. Instead of citing legislation, she used vague statements and emotional appeals to make the auditor seem like the problem. Her insistence he leave public land, attempt to control drone use without authority, and obvious bias towards the business reveal that she was enforcing compliance, not the law. Even when challenged, she doubled down on misinformation. This confrontation could have been avoided if the officer had done her job, explained the law, corrected the business, and left once no offense was found. The auditor was right to stand his ground. The officer's failures are now clearly exposed.